For a lot of us, potential does not pay attention to your prayers. It actually distracts you.
There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. Times the bravest thing you'll ever do is leave. Times the bravest thing you'll ever
drain me. The truth, when you heal, the people who...
Have you ever had a moment where you realize, damn, I've been surviving my whole life. I don't even know what it feels like to actually live. That moment when your body finally decides and whispers the truth that you've been trying to outrun, when you notice the tension in your chest ain't normal, when you realize you're not tired, you're exhausted down to your spirit. When you look at life and it hits you that you've been carrying pain that was never yours to carry. Black and brown women, the world told us that we had to be strong, but nobody taught us how to rest. Nobody taught us how to breathe. And no one taught us how to release the trauma stuck inside of our bodies. But today we're going to be breaking that cycle. We're detoxing survival mode from your nervous system, your identity, your patterns, and your purpose. And before I even introduce myself, if this episode touches something in you, make sure to share it, comment, and subscribe. Send it to another woman who is tired of pretending that she's okay. Because today, we're going deeper than we have ever gone before. Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory with your girl, yours truly, Shakim B, your trauma-informed life coach, NLP practitioner, storyteller, and the woman who has walked through hell, not over it, but through it, and decided to take notes so the rest of y'all don't have to worry about carrying your pain alone. In this episode, this is a deep part of my signature program that I'm currently working on. It's called the Survival Mode Detox, and it's where I help Black and brown women heal their nervous system, break emotional survival cycles, rebuild their identity, and step into the version of themselves that they were always meant to be. This is not just a podcast episode. This is literally a reset. It's a detox, a mirror, a soft landing, a wake-up call wrapped up in compassion. So before we go any further, I want to make sure that you guys subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you never ever miss another episode. Share this particular episode and leave a comment or a review. And if you're ready to get on the wait list for my upcoming Survival Mode Detox program, make sure you guys go to shakimb.store. Let me put it on here. Make sure you go to my website, shakimb.store, tap the link. It's going to take you to a page where you can sign up for the waitlist, or you can do the free audit first. So this is basically going to score your nervous system in your stress levels, and then you can go ahead and join the waitlist. Everybody that joins the waitlist is going to get between a 5 and a 10% off discount code when the program actually launches. All right, so now I want to take a moment for us all to breathe. Let's slow down. And I want us all to step into the space where your soul has been asking you to go. So, in opening this episode, you know what nobody tells you about survival mode is over time, it becomes your personality. It becomes the way that you talk, the way that you love, the way you show up in relationships, the way that you mother, and the way that you work. It becomes the way that you respond to conflict, the way you breathe or you don't breathe. And because the world has normalized our exhaustion, we start calling it strength. I have to tell you something though. It's something that I had to learn the hard way. Your body will shut down long before your spirit does. Your body remembers everything, even the things you swore that you healed from. I'm going to use my story as an example. There was a period in my life Some of y'all know where I was juggling 7 kids, an abusive marriage, a drug addiction, emotional neglect, financial struggle, and an identity crisis so heavy I couldn't even recognize my own reflection. My nervous system wasn't dysregulated, and it was actually screaming. It was extremely damaged. But here's the one thing: when dysfunction is familiar, peace feels dangerous. So when I finally left, when I finally started healing, when I finally started creating space for myself, my body didn't know what to do with that safety. And this is the most part that most women never talk about. Healing doesn't feel like peace at first, it feels like anxiety. Healing literally feels like waiting for the other shoe to drop. It feels like something must be wrong because you never lived without chaos. That is your nervous system detoxing survival mode. This is why in the survival mode detox program, we don't just talk about mindset, we talk biology, we talk about somatic, we talk about trauma stored in the fascia, we talk about how the vagus nerves hold tension long after the trauma is gone, and why your body freezes, flights, or fawns in relationships, even when you're saying that you're fine. And this is the part I need you to hear me very clearly with this. You're not dramatic. You're not broken. You're not overthinking. None of that is true. Your body is trying to protect you from an outdated set of instructions. Trauma trained your body to expect the worst. Healing, however, trains your body to receive the very best. So I want to take you back to a specific moment in my life. I remember sitting in my apartment. It was cold, it was dark, I was super depressed, and I had this wave of sadness. It hit me so hard, it literally took the breath out of my chest. For me in the moment, it felt like it was another depressive episode, right? But the truth of the matter is, it wasn't sadness. It was a shutdown. Shutdown is a trauma response. It's not depression. It's literally your body saying, we have carried way too much for far too long. I was trying to respond to a message and my hands literally paused over the keyboard. I didn't know what to say or how to respond. And my mind went blank. I couldn't even think. I couldn't move. I couldn't even force myself into productivity the way that I always had shown up for myself. This is what I teach. Survival mode convinces you that rest is unsafe, but your body collapses when the adrenaline wears off. And in that moment, it is when I realized that I wasn't lazy, I wasn't being inconsistent, and I wasn't even unmotivated. I felt like at the time I was failing. So that is the identity that I took on because I truly believed that fundamentally, but that wasn't even true. I was burnt out from a lifetime of being in survival mode. Your body isn't sabotaging you, and it's literally trying to show up and save you. Our body will give us hints that we are either overwhelmed or just operating too much, right? Before I continue, I want to take a mid episode pause. Just remind you guys that if this episode is hitting you in your chest or anything that I have said is resonating, if you feel seen, if you feel called out with love, I want to make sure that you guys share this episode, tag another woman that is still stuck in survival mode, and make sure you guys click the link in my bio to join the survival mode detox. That is this website right here, shakimbi.store. Okay. You deserve a regulated life. You deserve a narrative that doesn't hold on to hurt. hmm All right, let's go deeper. So we got to talk about these relationship cycles too, because I feel like for me, that is a huge part of why I do the work that I do now, right? A lot of the relationships that I have been in have, and I'm not saying that they're bad people, but what I'm saying is they met me at a point in my life for each person where I needed the deepest of lessons, right, in order to wake up to my true power. Because survival mode doesn't just show up in your body, right? It shows up in who you choose. So when I look back at the men that I allowed in my life during my wounded season, woo, they weren't partners. They were emotional reflections of the trauma that I was trying to overcome. I picked people who couldn't love me because deep down I didn't believe that I deserved a love that didn't hurt. I equated love with endurance, love with pain, love with survival, love with just get over it, right? Love with creating my own sense of safety and not that being a standard of the person that's choosing or wanting to be in my life, right? I picked men who mirrored the chaos that I grew up in, men who fed off of my nurturing, who took away from my softness, and who needed saving but were incapable of showing up to save me back. I continuously chose men who kept me in a loop of fear, abandonment, guilt, and pain. Because for me, that loop, it felt familiar. And I'm going to be real with you guys. When you grow up in chaos, a calm man will feel suspicious. Yes. Um, a healthy man, he will feel boring, right? And a loving man will feel overwhelming. A consistent man will feel too good to be true. Not because they are, but because your nervous system is allergic to peace. And that's like the best way that I can put it, right? It's like when you're so used to waiting for the other shoe to drop or expecting negativity or chaos in your life, right? When you experience something of the opposite, when it does come into your being, it feels unsafe. This is why you keep attracting takers, right? And it might not be necessarily the reason why you keep attracting takers, but it could be why you keep entertaining takers. And you can take that as you want. This is why you keep confusing consistency with control and love with intensity. So, in my program, the Survival Mode Detox, we break this pattern at the very source. So, we nip that shit right in the bud. And it's not just mentally, it's not biologically, right? Because once your nervous system is healed, you won't ever desire chaos anymore. So, this is going to be a very short spoken first part of this. This is going to be a three-part segment. So if you guys haven't already, make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment so that I know that you guys are looking forward to part two. I want to do the closing segment now. And if you guys are new here, the closing segment is usually a somatic grounding practice before I actually close. So I want you guys to take a deep breath with me right here, right now. You're going to breathe in through your nose, hold it, and let it out. We'll do it together. I do also want to let you guys know the link is in my bio. When you go on my website, shikimbi.store, I have a $50 free survival mode detox mini bundle. So you're going to be experiencing a sample of what the program is all about. I have somatic breathing practices in there, and I want you guys to be able to take full advantage of it while it's still only $50. All right, so let's go ahead and breathe. We're going to breathe in for 6, hold for 4, breathe out for 6. And when you let it out, I want you to release everything that has been holding you back, everything that you've been holding on to. And sometimes this takes repetition. It's not something that's going to go away with one episode, right? Everything that we talked about today, the shutdown, the cycles, the exhaustion, the triggers, the patterns you didn't choose, all of it is connected to one singular truth. You were never meant to survive your entire life. Your spirit wasn't created to shrink itself just to be safe. And your identity wasn't meant to be shaped by pain. But nobody ever told you that. Nobody showed you what survival mode ends and where you begin. And that's why today's episode matters. If something in this episode cracked something open in you, if you felt seen, exposed, or understood for the first time in a very long time, babes, that is your nervous system finally exhaling. That is your body saying, I'm ready. I want something different. I want to feel safe inside of myself. And you don't have to apologize for being the woman survival mode forced you to become. But you also do not have to stay her. Survival mode detox was built exactly for this reason, to walk out of the patterns that you never chose and to guide you into the version of yourself that you never thought that you could access. But even if you don't join the program, if you simply take this episode and let it sit with you, just know you are already in the process of healing just by listening and reflecting and by choosing yourself, even if it's just for 20 minutes today. So before you go, please do us all a favor, myself and you included. Make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss part 2. Leave a comment or a review so this message finds another woman that needs it. And share this episode with someone who has been fighting silent battles. And if you're ready to step out of survival mode for real, not for fake, make sure you join the waitlist at shakimb.store. Healing is not something that you have to do alone. It's something that we all do collectively, together, in community, in truth, in softness, and in intention. I want to thank you guys for spending this time with me today. Thank you for trusting me with your story, your nervous system, and your heart. This is just the beginning. Make sure you guys stay tuned for part 2. And thank you for tuning in for Truth, Trust, and Trajectory, where healing meets transformation. Until next time, okay, bye. For a lot of us, potential does not pay attention to your prayers. It actually distracts you.
There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. Times the bravest thing you'll ever do is leave. Times the bravest thing you'll ever
drain me. The truth, when you heal, the people who